Hello, good morning. I am going to be putting the trial up here. I don't know that I will do it all day. Sasha, my dog, is like whining. There's sirens in the background and she's being quite obnoxious. So if you see here high pitched squealing, it's my dog and I apologize. Going to, I don't think I've pulled it up yet, but last night I was watching TikTok as I typically do. And let's see, okay, they just have the seal on right now on the trial. I figured they probably won't start right at 9:30. But I was watching TikTok last night and I saw this attorney, lawyer Lori. She's from South Carolina. She's not affiliated with the trial, but she is an attorney and just giving her perspective. And if you'll remember yesterday, or maybe not yesterday, well, in the opening statement, so yesterday and beyond, I think there were rumors of this beforehand, but on Paul's phone, there were, I apologize, there were supposedly videos of Snapchat that had Alec in them the night of the murders. And most people were assuming that was good to have for, hey, I just got a notification, I'm on live, hi. That was relevant because Alec had previously stated he wasn't there. And he only went to the Moselle property when discovering Maggie and Paul. So yeah, it's pretty significant because it shows that he lies, but I'll let you hear what lawyer Lori says as well. Let's see if I can pull that up because I think it's interesting because there's been, Harpootlian, his defense attorney, has just kind of always spoken about if he were to do this, there would be blood spatter everywhere. There would be blood spatter everywhere, all over him. So again, I'll let you listen to what she has to say. This is lawyer Lori. Let me just, all right, it is on my screen. I will play it right now.
You guys ready for a little rainy Wednesday Murdaugh bombshell? Because I think I finally know what is on the Snapchat video that Paul sent to his friends at 7:56 p.m. on the night he was killed. Not surprisingly, Alec Murdaugh can be seen on that video wearing long pants and a dress shirt. Not the clothes he was seen wearing when police arrived on scene after he called 911. You recall that night he was wearing a white t-shirt that you would see all over the news because of all the blood spatter arguments and all of the destruction of this shirt. But at 7:56 p.m., he was wearing a dress shirt and pants. That's your bombshell. That's why it's crucial to the state's case. Wow. You guys.
So I found that interesting because even though I've seen before in different documentaries about horrible experiences that have happened, that have ended in someone's death, I've seen that it's not necessarily the case that you would be like saturated in someone's blood. So although that could help the defense, I think it could go either way in being a good argument or not a good argument, depending on how much the jury already knows about things like that and how much experts are able to explain this in a way where they understand that may not be the case, that someone's, again, just saturated in blood. But yeah, the clothes being different, if that's the case, because I'm not sure how she knows this. Maybe she's talking to people, who knows? on him having different clothes on, but from one video to the other. But that would show signs that he changed his clothes. And if he wasn't there, like, why? Well, I mean, there is proof that he was there, right? So why did he change his clothes? Why would someone do that? It's not something. Court starting. Oh my gosh. I'm so nervous for them. I'm going to mute myself and share the screen.
Good morning. An email was sent to my chambers at 5:52 p.m. yesterday by someone by the name of Chris Wilson, who I don't know whether it's the Chris Wilson who's on the witness list or not, complaining about the violation of my court order prohibiting the disclosure of the identity of jurors. Did not respond to the email, and I'll make the email a part of the record in the case. If counsel can look at it if you like.
Were the identities revealed? I know the audio of all of their interviews or their questions that were answered were streamed, and people can figure it out, and people have figured it out. But revealing their actual identity, like saying their name, did that occur? I don't know. Is the trial going to be over before it began? If you've read The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, you know that's based on a true story of the person having so many trials, and then eventually being found not guilty. I really feel like this is how it's going to go. I think this is our modern day Mercer trial for certain. Ooh, he's smiling. Don't smile, Alec. Don't smile. Not allowed. What is going to happen? Were the jurors' identities revealed?
Court reporter.
I'm going to mute myself for just a moment so I can type and find out.
Court's exhibit number 2. No, I don't need it.
See if I can find anything about this.
Any comment by the state or the defense?
No, Your Honor, none from Mr. Murdaugh.
None from the state, Your Honor.
No. Anything before the jury comes?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the video he's about to show has, I believe he agrees, images which are under the order signed by you. And so as they're being proposed to be shown, if I have something or he has something, we're going to, obviously under that order, we have to disclose that to you. And if you approve the showing, we've got some logistical issues. If you give me just a minute, these monitors are, that one is not working, but this monitor is viewable from the audience, and we'd like to cover it up with some MacGyver-like device that's been developed by Mr. Waters, where you tape paper, we can flip back and forth. So if somebody has some tape, I'd like to do that before he begins so that nothing's shown back there. If I can inadvertently. And you got paper too? I'm sorry. That's a MacGyver thing. Is that a compliment?
Thank you.
I could not find anything online, and granted, I just did a quick Google search about the jury members' identities being revealed, so I'm not sure what happened or what they think happened. They were identified by number only, although when answering questions, they did reveal
You're
their
a grand jury.
occupations, etc., and answered questions like how they knew any of the witnesses, the attorneys like prosecutor, defense attorney, Alec himself. So because it's a small county, a lot of people could kind of deduce, and if they're familiar with their voice, who it was, and some people from the area have. I don't know what the rules are and what the about audio being streamed when during jury selection. I never knew that was permitted, but it's interesting to see that it is. Makes me leery to serve on a jury in South Carolina. I hope they don't reveal their identities after this case is over. I hope they let that be the juror's individual decision. I think they have a right to be protected. If it were in a federal court in South Carolina, I think that would be a little different, but the fact that the jurors are from county where people live, things occurred, obviously where, yeah, I don't think it's very fair or safe for their identities to be revealed, and I think that should be the jurors' decision. Let's see. I'm gonna again type and mute myself.
Good morning. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For day number 4 of this session of court, day number 2 of this trial. As I instructed you prior to us commencing yesterday with the opening statements, you're not to listen, watch, or read any news accounts of this case or discuss it with anyone or allow anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. Has that occurred as to any jurors? All right, very good. It's very important that you keep that, follow that instruction. I know that many of you are not accustomed to sitting for long periods of time, and certainly not in settings like this. But if at any time you need a break, notify the bailiff, who will bring it to my attention, or raise your hand so that I can see, and we'll take a break at any time. Any juror
That's
will
always
need a
my
break, or any
fear
court participant
of being
for
a
that
juror,
matter.
because like after I have my morning coffee,
Are you ready
TMI,
to proceed by the state?
sometimes I got to go to
Yes, Your
the
Honor.
bathroom at
Yes,
a
sir.
moment's notice. Like
Your Honor, the state would call
What do you
Sergeant
do?
Daniel Green.
Sergeant Daniel Green, first witness. I think this is going to explain and be one of the officers who were first to arrive on the scene when Alec called 911 for Paul and Maggie.
You raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court in this trial will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may have a seat. Adjust that microphone so that it fits you comfortably. And if you'll state your name and spell your last name for the record.
My full name is Daniel Green. My last name, Greene.
Sergeant Green, how you doing today?
I'm good.
All right, tell us where you work.
I work for the Colleton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and your rank is sergeant, obviously, is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself. Just give us just a little bit of your background that led you to your career in law enforcement, if you would, please.
Sure. I went to school here, grew up here, went to college at Charleston Southern University. I got a degree in social studies education, taught for a little while, and then got into law enforcement. Just kind of fell into it and liked it. And I've been here since 2014.
Okay. You started with the Sheriff's Department in 2014?
That's correct.
All right, and what was your first job that you did, or how does your career progress?
I started at the jail. I worked there for just over a year, and then I was moved to the road patrol. I was on road patrol for several years, moved up the ranks to sergeant, where I was a road patrol supervisor, and now I'm a detective.
Okay. When did you become detective?
Earlier last year, it would have been June of last year.
Back in June of 2021, what was your job at that particular time with the Sheriff's Department?
In June of 2021, I was a road patrol sergeant supervisor.
All right, and explain how that works. What's your exact role as a sergeant and a road patrol supervisor?
So for the most part, I'm assigned a team consisting of 3 to 4 deputies, just depends, that include a corporal as well as several other deputies. My job primarily is to supervise them in their in a 12-hour shift. We answer calls for service. Sometimes I'll go with other deputies to calls that require more than one officer to be present. But the majority of my job is supervising what they do.
And during June of 2021, were you working day shift or night shift, or how did that work?
I was on night shift at that point.
And what are the hours of the night shift?
So we swap every 2 months. So 2 months you'll be on days, 2 months you'll be on nights. For those hours, it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay. And let me take you to the evening of June 7th, 2021. Were you working that particular evening?
I was.
And what shift were you working that day?
We were on night shift,
And again, so what hours would that be?
working from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
So you went on duty at 6 p.m. Is that
I did.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said you're the sergeant. What was do you have a squad that you're supervising that are out during that shift? Explain that to the jury, if you would, please.
So that shift consisted of myself being the sergeant. I had a corporal and 2 deputies working as well. And at that point, I had a lieutenant who was my immediate supervisor. He was working as well.
All right. And can you tell me who those people were?
Sure. So my corporal was Corporal Janicki, and the 2 deputies working with me were Deputy William Pruitt and Deputy Chad McDowell.
And the lieutenant was who?
Lieutenant Lonnie Nettles.
Did you, on the evening of June 7th, 2021, get a call for service at 4147 Moselle Road?
I did.
You remember approximately what time that was?
Later in the evening, several hours into my shift.
And Did you ultimately respond to that location?
I did.
What was reported to you that led to the call for service from dispatch?
That there was a caller who stated he had found his wife and son shot.
And so tell me what happens then. You get that report. What do you do?
So I get that call for service. Obviously, we immediately respond. In situations like that, we would respond with lights and sirens to get there as quickly as possible.
You're driving fast to get there?
Yes.
The lights are on?
Lights were on, siren was on. I think it still took me close to 20 minutes to actually get to the scene from where I was. But
You have to ask dispatch to clarify the address?
I did, once I got out there. It's a very dark area, very rural area on Moselle Road. There were not a whole lot of residences in the area, and I did need clarification once I got out there to confirm the address. Then I located the address on a mailbox across the street from a driveway.
So you saw the mailbox in the driveway you entered, is that correct?
That's correct.
The driveway that you entered that had this mailbox, where did it ultimately lead? What structures were there as you pulled up to the scene?
As I pulled down the long driveway, when I got to the end of it, there was a dog kennel area on the left as well as a shed area on the right.
And that was the driveway with the mailbox, correct?
That was,
Is this location where the scene was, is it in Colleton County?
it is.
Tell me just a little bit before we get into more specifics. What was the, you said it was dark. What was the weather like? What was the conditions of the scene or the weather in the scene like?
So quite normal for June around here. It's rather hot, humid.
It had been raining a little bit off and on that evening. It was not raining at the time that I actually responded to the scene.
Were you the first law enforcement officer or first responder on the scene?
I was.
Were there others, other first responders following close behind?
The additional first responder that was directly behind me worked for Colleton County Fire Rescue. He pulled in almost the same time I did.
When you would arrive at the scene, before we talk about what you actually experienced at this scene, what is your main job at a scene like this? What are you there to do as a first responder, the first officer on the scene?
Yeah, so a major crime scene like that, my job is to get there, secure the scene. And what I mean by secure the scene is ensure that there are no individuals there that would potentially cause harm to additional first responders coming there or any witnesses or victims that are already on scene. Preserve any evidence that might be there, and then wait for investigators to arrive as I gather information from anybody else that is already on scene.
Okay. So you're going to gather basic information, but your job's not to investigate it in great detail.
That's correct.
Okay. As you arrived at this scene, again, what had been reported to you by dispatch?
That a male caller had called and said he found his wife and son shot.
And from that report to you, about how long did it take you to ultimately make it onto the scene?
It was roughly about 20 minutes.
Okay. When you arrived on scene, when you said one of the things that you do is secure the scene, were you at all concerned about any perpetrators still being there at that point in time?
When I arrived, not necessarily, just because he had already been there for quite a while. Whenever he called, it seemed the way the call came in that he discovered them like that and that there was nobody else there other than him and the wife and son.
So you're the first officer on scene, but you're not thinking the perpetrators are still there.
It's something you have to keep in the back of your mind, but not necessarily at the forefront.
Okay. All right. You didn't come in hot with guns drawn or anything like that?
No.
When you arrived at the scene and you walked and got out of your car, what did you see?
So as soon as I got out of my vehicle, I was walking down the rest of the driveway, which went between the dog kennel and the shed. As I could see Mr. Murdaugh down at the end of the driveway. As I approached toward him, I could see the male victim laying on the ground to my left, as well as the female victim on the ground to my right. The male victim was close to a small shed in the dog kennel on the left. There was a large deal of blood that had pooled around his body. Same thing for the female victim on the right. Also a large amount of blood around her body.
As you approached and at first saw the male victim and the female victim, what was your assessment? Was there any possible signs of life from your?
My initial assessment was that there was not. There appeared to be a large amount of blood around each of them, as well as brain matter.
Did you ultimately have a conversation with Mr. Murdaugh when you were out there?
I did.
All right. And do you see him here in the courtroom today, the person that you talked to?
I do.
And can you point him out to the jury, please?
Yes, sir. He's right there wearing a dark blue or black jacket.
Your Honor, can the record reflect that he's identified Mr. Murdaugh?
It does.
When you ultimately approached Mr. Murdaugh, what's the first thing that you did?
The first thing I did was ensure that he did not have any weapons on him. That's standard procedure for arriving on a scene like that. Any kind of weapons that are anywhere on the scene, I want to be aware of just so I can know whether they're there or not, and if they are there, who has access to them at any point. And that's for my safety as well as other responding officers and for anyone else that's on scene.
Did Mr. Murdaugh give you any possible explanation for this when you approached him?
His immediate reaction was to start telling me about an incident that had happened with his son with a boating accident.
With the boating accident?
Yes, sir.
Had you asked him anything about that?
I did not.
You ultimately, were you wearing a body worn camera that particular
I
day?
was.
You ultimately had a conversation with Mr. Murdaugh for a fairly extended period of time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever see any tears in your interactions with Mr. Murdaugh?
He did not appear to be crying. He was upset, but I did not see any visible tears.
Did Mr. Murdaugh tell you that he had any sort of firearm?
He did. He stated that he had left from that scene, went to the residence, grabbed a shotgun from that residence, and then brought it back because he felt like he needed to have it just in case something else were to happen.
He told you he had gone back to the residence after finding the victims to get that gun.
He did.
What if anything, did you do
That
once he told you that he had
Sounds
gotten the gun?
logical.
First, he pointed out where the gun was. It was leaning against the vehicle that he was driving at the time. I could see that it was a camouflage shotgun. I spoke with him for a few more minutes, and just based off of how nervous he was acting and anxious and upset, I decided it was in everyone's best interest to get that shotgun and secure it in my vehicle so that no one else had access to it.
So you put that shotgun in your vehicle, is that correct?
I did.
What did you ultimately do with that shotgun? Did you later turn it over to additional law enforcement?
Yes, after it was secured in my vehicle, once SLED arrived on scene to do their further investigation, it was then turned over to SLED.
Bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
Your Honor. State 3, I believe I've moved it without objection.
It's admitted without objection.
May I ask that we have the Elmo working, please?
I just hit my knee on the table and it hurt so bad. Quit bobbing your head, Allie. I don't see Mandy Matney or anything. I'm sure she's there and Liz is there, but where? And the courtroom seems very empty.
Objection is not a graphic image.
I so would have
Thank you, Your
freaking
Honor.
taken
My
my
apologies
time
to
and
the
driven
jury.
down there if I knew I had a chance to get in. Why is no one there? This is strange. It can't be media and family only.
All right, I'm going to put Westman Marcus.
Echo.
I'm going to put what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3 up on the screen and see if I can get it the right way. All right. You can't see. Can you see that? You probably can't.
I can.
You can? All right. And do you recognize the what's in that particular image?
I do.
All right. And tell me what that is, please.
That's the shotgun that I secured in my vehicle on the scene.
Okay. Let's see.
Texting my neighbor right now. I finally got her this summer to listen to the Murdaugh Murder podcast, and sorry, got distracted at what they're doing. Yeah, so she's texting me right now. And it's funny too, because her family typically goes down to, where Paul for the boat crash went to the bar before, and he and that one guy and his friends waited for him during the boat crash. They've been to that bar several times. They kind of go down to an island nearby during the summer, and they hadn't heard of this. Like, girl, watch who you're on the beach with.
See, Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir. Sergeant Green, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 4 for identification at this time. And see if you recognize this particular item.
Yes, sir. That would be the shotgun that I secured.
All right. Your Honor, this time we would move Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Objection.
No, sir.
Admit it.
Oh, I thought someone said there was an
May I
objection.
have Sergeant Green show this firearm to the jury?
Yes.
I'll be sure not to point at anybody. You know what gauge that firearm is?
Please, it's 12 gauge.
Thank
I mean, Harpootlian was right, and this is a hunting property. This is South Carolina. It's not very uncommon for people to have these weapons.
All right, Sergeant Green,
Echo.
I'm going to show you one other document before we move on to some other matters.
It's not even odd for them to have gun residue on them, honestly. I don't think that should be their holy grail. Again, the redheaded guy in the background, that's Alex surviving
All right,
some.
Your Honor, I believe I'd move to admit that State's Exhibit 2 without objection.
And no objection, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to show this exhibit to you real quick and see if you recognize this document.
Mandy and Liz,
Yes, sir.
where
That
are
would be the chain
you?
of custody for the shotgun.
All right, is there a signature on that document?
It is.
All right, and what does this chain document reflect? Can you just generally explain what this means to the jury, please?
That I originally took possession of that weapon and then turned it over to SLED investigators.
May I publish this exhibit, Your Honor?
Yes.
So up here it lists that there was a Vanelli Super Black Eagle. Did you unload this particular shotgun?
I did not.
Okay. But you ultimately turned the shotgun in and slid the state over to the agent listed here, is that
I
correct?
did. I did.
Did you alter or change the weapon in any way between the time you took it and the time you took it over to SLED?
No, I didn't manipulate it in any way.
I'm interested to see what this.
Sergeant Green, I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification at this time. It's State's Exhibit number 1, see if you recognize this.
What is this? Are they trying to say this is one of the
Yes, sir, I do.
All
weapons
right,
he
can you
used?
tell the jury what this is on this disc right here?
That would be the body camera footage from that incident.
From your
I feel so
arrival at
sorry.
Murdaugh Road and through the investigation until at some point you turned it off after it no longer needed to be on. Is that
That's correct.
All right, Your Honor, at this time I'll move to admit State's Exhibit number 1.
That clarification, that is this officer's body cam, which is a camera that's mounted on his body. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's mounted on. Yeah.
Say admit it.
Your Honor, permission to publish this exhibit to the jury. I'll need the. Your Honor, I would point out that there are graphic images on this, so everybody needs to cover up their monitors, please.
Parties to control what is presented and published in accordance with the court's order. The parties to police that yourselves.
We intend on covering up when he gets to the graphic images and then uncovering it.
Well, they come pretty quickly, as you.
I remember. So Mr. Griffin's ready.
To the hospital?
Yeah, stay in town. I'm heading out there.
Advise a female shot in the head. The son is shot also. Not breathing. Stand out further.
717 around Moselle.
Sergeant Green, this is your body cam video, is that correct?
That's correct.
The first 15 minutes or so of this video are you running code, running at full speed or at least reasonable speed to get to this scene as fast as you can, is that correct?
Yes, sir. My lights and siren were activated so I can get there quickly.
Is the lady
Your
transcribing
Honor,
by
at this
mouth?
time, I'm going to fast forward it until he arrives, I believe without objection from the defense.
Without objection, Your Honor.
Central on Bay 1 will be stationed at Moselle on Crosswalk.
Okay, 20.
Central Battalion 1's in here waiting for.
Past the driveway that I was supposed to have turned down. Like I said, everything was kind of dark out there. It wasn't clearly indicated, so.
Central, it's 4147 or 57?
4147. Should be a vehicle in the driveway with the flashes on. That's going to be the caller.
Copy, I'm going on scene. It's got a long driveway, but the mailbox out front is labeled. He's not at the end of the driveway. He might be by the house.
The correct number for 4147 Moselle?
It is.
And is that the incident location where you discovered the victims?
That's correct.
Copy.
I'm getting out with the caller now.
Copy.
Right there to the left of the screen, what did you see right there?
To the left was Paul's body. He was laying face down on the ground. Large pool of blood around him, as well as a great deal of water that was immediately around his body.
Was it that water, was it just around, was it down the entire kennel concrete pad, or was it mostly just?
No, you could see walking down the kennel as I got out. The closer I got to Paul's body, the more water there was.
Had it been raining enough at this point in time to wet the entire, to cause that amount of water?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Objections overruled.
Answer the question, please.
I don't recall if it had been raining a whole lot that evening, but given where the water was, it did not appear that rain had caused that water.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is an objection. If I sustain the objection, you are to then disregard the question and any responses. If I overrule the objection, then you may consider the responses and the question is deemed appropriate. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I backed it up just a little bit, apparently too far, so I'm just gonna roll from here again.
Central 717 scene is secure. Got a Whiskey Fox, Whiskey Mike.
What are we seeing to the right of this image?
So on the right would be Maggie's body, also laying face down on the ground. Large pool of blood around her head.
And we see an individual standing. Who is that?
The individual standing in the background would be Mr. Murdaugh.
The person you previously identified in this courtroom?
That's correct.
Both gunshot wounds to the head.
And just to be clear, this location that you're standing right now is in Colleton County, is that correct?
It is, yes.
I want to let you know because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it
Okay,
down here.
it's in your vehicle? Do you have any guns on you at all?
No, sir, it's leaning up against the side of my car.
You're fine, man, you're fine. Turn around for me.
I don't have any.
Okay, yes, sir, I see that. Okay. This is your wife and son? Okay.
I noticed you shined your flashlight just a few seconds ago on the black vehicle. What did you shine your
Why did
flashlight
his
on?
attorney take the,
You could see the shotgun
see
leaning
the
up against the side of that vehicle.
Were the flashers on the vehicle right there in the image?
I
Do you
believe so,
recall?
yes.
It's bad, check the pulses.
Yes, sir. This is the firearm you brought from inside the house?
Sir, yes, sir, I went and this is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious.
Okay.
He's been getting like punched. I know that's what it is.
Okay.
that's what we all thought.
Was that when you previously testified that he mentioned the boat
So the
case or
Murdaugh
boat
murder
wreck?
spot.
That's correct. Prior to me asking him anything about it, he did mention it.
Did you get home right when you called,
think
or did
that's
you go to
odd
the
for
house
him
first?
to
Where is
say,
the house?
I came to the house
Even
first.
though I think he's
My mom
guilty.
has late stages
I think
Alzheimer's
that's
and my
odd for him
dad
to
is
say.
in the hospital.
Okay.
I left, I don't know what time. I can go back on my phone and tell you the exact times. Did you check?
Did I check what?
Did you check them?
We got medical guys that are, that's what they're gonna do, okay?
What are they doing? Can they hurry?
They are, yes, sir. That gentleman that was out here already, he's one of the battalion chiefs, okay?
Right before that discussion, did Mr. Murdaugh offer to go on his phone and check?
He
What
did.
time?
He did. He wanted to verify exactly the timing of his arrival.
How did you pull up? You from back there?
And I went to the house and they weren't home, which was odd. I tried to call
Okay,
and then I knew they had been down here before I left to go to my mom's.
okay.
And so that is loaded.
Okay.
You might want to unload it.
Was he at the
Is
hospital?
this the only firearm we do? This is the only one, or is there any more in the truck?
Did he say
I
two
believe
different
that's
places?
You think that's the only one? Okay.
I'm 99%.
Do you normally
certain that's
have
right.
any other firearms in your vehicle?
I don't, but
Okay.
occasionally there's a pistol in there.
Okay.
So you're putting stuff on your hands. What are you doing right there?
Those are just gloves so I could put on my hand to limit the contamination of any evidence.
You put those on before you handled the firearm, is that
Yes.
correct?
Just wait right here for me for a second, okay?
Copy.
What are you doing right now?
At this point, I'm walking back to my vehicle to secure that shotgun inside my vehicle.
We can actually see you holding it to the left of the screen, is that correct?
That's correct. That's me holding the barrel of that shotgun.
Explain to us real quick a body worn camera. Where is that located and where are these images coming from?
I would have put it, I generally put it right here on my chest dead center in my chest.
And how is it activated? How is it turned off? Can you explain that to the jury a little bit? as well?
So most of these cameras are activated in the patrol vehicles that deputies on patrol have. They're activated whenever you activate your blue lights. So as soon as I turn my blue lights on, it activates my dash camera as well as my body worn camera.
And then how do you ultimately turn it off?
It's got a button on the front of it that you can press. If it did not originally activate it, you would press that button to turn it on, to start the recording. And then whenever you're done recording, you press that same button to stop the recording.
In this particular instance, how did it get activated? Was it when you turned on your blue lights to run code to the scene?
That's correct. It was activated with my blue lights.
And I've used the term run code. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
And can you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure. Running code is just whenever you turn your lights on as well as your siren to get wherever you need to get fast.
When you're moving quickly to respond to an emergency situation.
That's correct.
653 Officer over. Go ahead, sir. I've already spoken with Captain DOD.
Right there, you laid the shotgun inside your vehicle, is that correct?
That's correct. I laid it in front of the passenger seat in the front.
Did it remain there until it was turned over to SLED?
It did.
Go ahead, sir.
To the left of the screen, again, that's where the Paul was, is that correct?
That's correct. That's Paul laying on the ground.
And is that where you saw the water that you
It is.
described earlier?
It is.
I've already spoken with Captain DOD. Got crime scene in contact with him. He's also going to give us the assistance of a couple of field agents. Roger that. No,
They are dead, aren't
I
they?
just turned all those in.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Where are you now?
What is Mr. Murdaugh doing at this particular time?
He's on the phone pacing around talking to someone. I'm not sure who he was talking to at that point.
Did he ask you to confirm if they were dead?
He did. He asked multiple times while I was on scene.
Did you ever see him, any tears, any physical tears?
I did not.
You know,
Did
I
you
mean,
ever
of
see him
course you're
approach
going
the
to ask
bodies?
that.
I did not see him approach them. No.
Did you observe any visible blood on him?
There was no blood on him that I could see.
The bodies, as you saw them, was there a lot of blood around them, given the
I'm gonna
injuries they
ask.
suffered?
I'm probably not
Yes,
gonna
there
go
was a
into my
pool of blood
memory.
around each of the bodies that extended out from the body.
All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now. That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
Okay.
I rode around with Paul for 2 hours this afternoon in the pickup truck.
Oh, I thought he had said he was never there that night until that moment.
Might have to check them.
Yes, sir. They've already checked them.
They did check them.
Yes, sir.
It's official that they're dead.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
When you observed these victims, was it obvious that they had injuries incompatible with life?
Yes, any reasonable person that came upon those bodies would have come to a conclusion that they were deceased.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm very sorry. I call her, yeah.
What's her name?
Her name's Maggie Murdaugh. Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
Raymond, but they
What's
do
her
pronounce
birthday?
it Murdaugh.
Pause it right there. What did the defendant just say? Let me back it up.
Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
What did the defendant say right there?
So while I'm in the process of gathering information about the two victims from Mr. Murdaugh, somebody walks by behind me and he pauses what he's telling me to say, "Hey, how you doing?"
How you doing?
Yeah.
And who was that he said that to?
I'm not 100% certain. I believe it was a fire rescue individual.
What's her birthday?
9/15/68.
Okay, and what's your son's first name? You said Paul?
Paul Terry Murdaugh.
And what's his birthday?
Jason, if you have anybody
4.
coming through town that could stop and pick up that tent, I see lights off in the distance.
What are they covering them up?
I got some getting dressed now, Sheriff. I'll have somebody stop and grab it.
Tell them they don't have to do that. They don't need to. Preserve what we can.
653. Where's it at? I'm in town.
I should try to be Bill Day, because he's gonna be the only one that's got access.
What's
to
Paul's
where it is
birthday?
right now.
Copy.
April 14th, 1999, sir.
Put it up as wide as you can. That's fine. You said 99?
Sir,
He was born in 99?
he was born April 14th, 1999.
Okay. What's your first name, sir?
My name is Alex Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Let me ask you this. In your interactions with Mr. Murdaugh, was he able to understand your questions and respond appropriately to what you were asking?
Yes.
Was he catatonic in any way?
No, he was able to answer all the questions that I asked him.
Was he
Thank
panicking
you
in any
for
way?
being here.
He seemed upset, but I wouldn't say panicky.
Did you notice any labored breathing or anything like that?
This is
from
the
Mr.
first
Murdaugh?
officer
Yeah,
who
he,
arrived on the scene. He's the first witness.
Was breathing heavily. Never once did he complain about not being able to breathe. I mean, there were fire rescue guys out there. He didn't ask for any kind of medical attention or anything like that due to not being able to breathe.
Richard Alexander Murdaugh?
You familiar with the location?
No.
Sure.
Hey, Cody,
It's what I'm thinking.
come around the truck and then go to the building. Come around the truck and then,
There's a set of prints also behind the trailer there.
yes.
I don't know if it's from
What's that?
ours or not. There's a set of footprints behind the trailer there too.
Who's that individual right there?
I'm not sure of his name. I just know that he works for Colleton County Fire Rescue. Colleton County Fire Rescue.
That's how we kind of step out so we can step over it.
In the background in the center of the screen,
That's
looks
okay.
like somebody's doing something with some yellow tape. Can you explain what that is to the jury, please?
That's correct. That's Deputy Pruitt, one of the deputies that I supervise. I instructed him to put up crime scene tape to include that vehicle. We put up crime scene tape to try to keep people out of the immediate crime scene area, preserve any possible evidence that's there.
At this point in time, had you noticed any evidence of firearms such as casings or spent shells or anything like that?
Yeah, as I was walking through, you can't necessarily see it on my body camera, but as I was walking through, I could see shell casings, particularly around Maggie's body.
All right. And a shell casing, would they be for like a rifle round or a pistol round?
They
or-
appear to be rifle rounds.
And could you tell just from walking by what type of ammunition at that point in time?
I couldn't tell what type. I could tell that they appear to be rifle, and that's about it.
And again, you weren't stopping to collect those. You were managing the scene as you described before.
That's
so-
correct.
Again, I wonder if they're going to say that gun that he had up against his truck was one of the weapons.
Just go over to that corner.
I doubt it. I doubt he would be that ignorant. But perhaps I'm wrong.
I'm almost to you. Let me see what we have first, whether or not we're gonna.
And again, to me, it does make sense that if he saw his family this way and he went to the house.
Shining your light on right there.
So there in the background behind where Mr. Murdaugh is standing, you can see several sets of tire tracks. The grass was really wet that night, so those tracks appeared to be really fresh. It caught my eye.
All right. And why did it catch your eye?
It just seemed odd that it appeared to be that many sets of tire tracks since he said he'd pulled up, went to the house and came back. It just appeared that there were more than just that.
It appeared that there were more tracks than just that.
That's correct.
I see quite a few tire tracks in here. Were any of these you going in and out?
No, I came in here and I left one time and I came back.
Okay.
I forgot what I was going to say.
The rest of them, maybe
I don't
from
know.
earlier, but
Okay.
You're welcome.
only 2 are mine.
Did you go out this way at all?
No.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you, Nikki.
Hey, stay here. Got a whole bunch of stuff right there. I don't want to disturb.
And then after I try to get to the door, we can kind of get around that way.
Your best way is probably going to be back through those rocks because we can't get any tracks off those rocks anymore.
We'll go back around the other way we just came.
Okay. Thank you.
It's
Yep. You have names or anything for 'em?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get that in a little bit. Then. That's
Okay.
fine.
I wish the dogs could talk and say what was happening. And again, when I was first streaming, I was saying how this lady who's an attorney in South Carolina explained.
Vehicle are you approaching right now?
That was the vehicle that Mr. Murdaugh said that he had approached that scene in.
Was that a black Suburban to your recollection?
It is.
She had explained why Paul Snapchat, other than placing Alec at the scene during the time when he
What unit's 23 on was that?
was murdered, may also be significant because it shows that Alec changed
Behind the house.
clothes, which would be
There's several of us out here. There's
Right there, that would be Maggie's body right in front of that shed. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's covered up by a sheet at this point.
a long dirt driveway right next to the mailbox says 4147, and you'll see all our lights down here at this shed thing.
which would be why there wasn't any blood spatter on his clothes. Like the defense keeps pointing
Maybe.
out.
Duty here out of Murdaugh.
Yeah, they're definitely upset.
Who's that standing way off in the distance there?
That'd be Mr. Murdaugh.
Where did he spend the majority of his time while you were there after your initial interaction with him?
From this point on, his general time was spent in that area where he's currently standing.
Pretty far away from the scene?
That's correct.
It's Buster's girlfriend, I believe. That's Buster, Alec's surviving son. And his uncle beside him, which is Alec's brother. And I think Alec's sister-in-law, I think. His other brother was there yesterday.
So it was occurring right there?
Yeah.
So both of those deputies, or Deputy Pruitt would be on the left and Deputy McDowell would be on the right. Deputy McDowell was taking small pieces of crime scene tape and just setting them by shell casings, I believe. As road patrol officers, we don't generally have those little placards that you'll a lot of times see in crime scene photos. But to prevent somebody from accidentally stepping on them due to it being so dark out there, we tend to take something small like a piece of paper, a piece of crime scene tape, set it next to it just to indicate it a little bit better.
Again, part of the job of a first responder to sort of protect the scene until the crime scene investigators get there.
That's correct.
Both these individuals, were you supervising them that night?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Looking at this perspective right here, to the left of the screen is whose body?
To the left right there in the forefront would be Maggie, and in the further back, you can also see where Paul is laying.
Okay. Was Paul next to or in the kennel area?
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
And again,
Say he's calling
there's a
somebody.
dog kennel on the property.
Say he's calling somebody.
which I believe is no longer there. And
There's a couple of showcases right here.
one of Paul's friends was boarding his dog there. That's why Paul was there, even though now there's speculation that he was always the intended target. Many people thought Maggie was the intended target.
I wasn't really told the names.
And who knows really? Only whoever killed them knows. But that's apparently why the videos will help.
Did you know this family prior to this?
I did not.
Because Paul was taking video of his friend's dog to show him. Here he is, he's okay, whatever, something like that, I'm assuming. But you can hear, I believe, I don't know if it's the video or the Snapchat where you can hear Alec and see Alec.
Evo would be Deputy McDowell's K9.
Hey, watch your step. Huh? There. Okay.
Who is that approaching right now?
That would be my immediate supervisor at the time, Lieutenant Lonnie Nettles.
The gentleman in the white shirt is the husband of her, father of him. That is Paul Murdaugh.
White shirt, and again, there's rumors that in other videos he's shown in dress clothes, so different clothes than what he's in when the officers arrive. Allegedly.
Just then, were you describing the boat wreck?
Yes, it had been in local news previously, so.
And it was your understanding that Paul was involved in that?
In some way, I had no idea about the actual details of the case to know what his involvement was, honestly.
Most likely. He did have a firearm whenever I pulled up. It's a shotgun. It's been secured in my vehicle.
And again, let's just say Alec didn't do this. I don't think it's unreasonable for him to mention the boat
You'll have to give me
crash.
just a few minutes. I guess I will.
When officers are there, it could be him trying
The
to.
dispatch call, was that related to the case in any way?
I don't believe it was. I don't remember what that phone call ended up being about. As a supervisor, if a lot of us are tied up at one time, they will tend to give me a phone call to let me know that a certain call is pending or something else is going on. Just to help keep the radio traffic free, they'll call me on my cell phone instead.
Did your entire squad respond to this this particular call, or did somebody?
There was one deputy that remained in service.
Did not respond here, but remained on the road.
Correct.
I don't think it's unnatural for that to be everyone's first thought, because it was definitely mine when I heard about this.
This is
Again, I've
You started
said
crime
before,
scene
both me and my husband were like, oh my gosh,
a
somebody
log
got
started.
some backwoods justice
Sleds on the way.
for
Let's
in
push.
regards to the boat crash, because
Can we run the tape?
Paul, his son, who's the victim here, one of the victims,
yes.
From that
was
last hole
Sure.
that started
charged,
off.
Stacy,
So that
with
last
Get a
hole.
piece of paper. Start writing names and times. You don't have any kind of paper?
with being responsible for the boat crash, which led to
Who's that
the
individual
death
right there in the
penalty.
center of the screen?
That
To the
would be
right.
Detective to the right.
Yes.
That would be Deputy Pruitt.
And what did you just ask him to do?
Start a crime scene log.
And tell the jury what that is.
Sure. So a crime scene log is established as soon as additional people start to arrive on scene. We document exactly who comes into the actual crime scene, as well as the exact time that they come into the crime scene.
Here, borrow that.
We can push it from that hole to that hole.
Yep. Sure.
So today, when trial first started, well, actually, before they had the juror members in, the judge mentioned something about an email where someone named Chris, who he wasn't sure if it was one of the witnesses, emailed him and stating that they were disappointed in the judge not following protocol for this trial and having jurors' identities be revealed, which
What are we doing right here with the tape?
So I'm securing it to the corner of that part of the shed to run it along to the shed on the opposite side of that area. We just expanded the crime scene out a little bit further.
To protect a larger area?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You need to speak more directly into the mic, or can you increase the volume, Madam Clerk, of that mic?
I thought there was going to be a mistrial just from the get-go, but the judge said, does anybody have a problem with
Referring to
this
the witness.
Sorry.
in regard to
Increase his
both
volume, or
the attorneys? And they said no. Like, I don't know what's that all about, what that was all about. There was no further explanation.
thank you, ma'am. First,
Yes, sir.
But then they were like,
I
cool,
usually
let
don't
the
have
juror members
problem
in.
being too quiet, but speak up for us if you would, please.
So
All right, so you're securing the crime scene tape. Let's
they
proceed.
kept going, but I thought it was going to be a midnight in the garden of good and evil. We're already doing a mistrial before any witnesses have a chance to testify. And I really think there's going to be a mistrial in this. I think the defense is going to find something out about a jury member. Harpootlian plays nasty and evil. Which, I mean, hey.
Yeah, I think we got it.
It's not illegal. And you want jury members to be following directions, but I don't know what the protocol is if you're a juror and someone comes up to you, not knowing you're a juror, and wants to talk to you about the trial. You have to say, no, and like run away. I feel like that puts a target on you. Like, oh, you might be a juror member. Like, I understand you can't talk about it, and they should not talk about it. But what if someone like approaches you? That's not like on you. I just don't know all these things. But one mystery that was solved was the judge said today, one mystery for me anyway,
From back that way, I guess.
that if you needed
Where the
like
house
an
is, I
immediate
guess.
break to like raise your hand or let the bailiff know. Because my thing is, fear of being a juror. What if I have to go to the bathroom all of a sudden?
You've heard on this video the term whiskey Mike. Can you tell me what that term refers to?
Yeah, when we say whiskey Mike, we're referring to a white male. A whiskey fox or whiskey foxtrot would be a white female.
And in the context of this particular scene, who's the whiskey Mike and who's the whiskey fox or whiskey foxtrot?
As I was approaching, you could hear me say to dispatch to my radio that there was a whiskey Mike, the whiskey Mike referring to Paul, whiskey fox referring to Maggie.
That's really not secretly coded around here. That's Buster and his surviving son, and beside him, the one who's emotional is Alex, one of Alex's brothers. Yeah, I'm always fearful of if I have to go to the bathroom, if I've had too much coffee, oh my gosh, am I going to have to go to the bathroom right here? Like, what are the rules? But at least with this judge, you can raise your hand, tell the bailiff, and you'll get a bathroom break. These are the things I think about. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
To the very right of the screen, well, strike that. I'll wait.
Correct.
I have a notepad, it's just I'm using the back side of all the paper, all the front side of the paper has names and information on it.
Well, you can borrow mine for a minute. It's perfectly fine, Cody.
I just didn't want you to be like, don't fucking paper. I have paper for calls.
Do you not have any crime scene log sheets? Hey, it's 717. I was asked to give you guys a call.
Have it in the
I don't know who that lady is. They keep kind of panning in on her. I think she's sitting with the Murdaugh family, so I don't know if she's... I don't know that Maggie's family is there. I heard yesterday. I don't think they were, so I don't know what significance that lady has in relation to everyone.
I will.
I recognize the white-haired white dude in the back there. I keep looking for Mandy or Liz, and I don't see them. Those are the podcast people.
Okay.
I don't see Alex's other brother there today either, which he was there yesterday. Randolph, I think is his name.
Here, do you recognize those individuals?
I do.
Can you tell us who they are?
On the far left would be Detective Tyndall. In the forefront toward the center would be Captain Chapman. And on the other side of him, in the lighter colored shirt with the black vest, was Barry McCroy, worked for Fire Rescue.
Okay. Did the sheriff respond to this particular incident, to your recollection?
Yes, he did.
Sorry.
But as far as who was the senior officer actually working the scene at this point in time until SLED arrives, who was it at this point?
That would be Captain Chapman.
Captain Chapman?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna grab a couple. I got some right here. Hey, you want us to close that in? Sir? Was that? You want us to close it in? Yeah.
So the guy, I don't know if you want to see what the other guy is, whoever Eric is, or just a caller. There's a guy over here that's wanting to talk to him.
Don't even know who Eric is. I know an Alex over there.
Alex.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a guy over here that wants to talk to him.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you wanted me to tell him that or if you wanted me to just chill for a minute. Or if you wanted me to escort him over.
He does not need to walk over there.
No, I mean, a long way.
He does not need to go over there.
So you can stay there then.
He can't.
Let me ask you this. Before you had referred to a brother arriving, is that correct?
Yes.
And was that a brother? Was he allowed to talk to Alec and go over to Alec?
I believe he did. I don't recall. I never actually interacted with him at all.
And then this discussion right here with Deputy Pruitt, what was going on right there?
So there was someone that had arrived on scene and wanted to go and speak with Mr. Murdaugh. I told him to just wait a minute on allowing him over there so we could determine the best way to allow them to talk, simply because the crime scene was so large and we did not want to contaminate anything that didn't need to be.
Okay. To your knowledge, was that individual, whoever it was, allowed to interact with Mr. Murdaugh?
I believe so. He was eventually, yes.
People that arrived were allowed to go see Mr. Murdaugh, is that correct?
That's correct.
He was not in custody at any time, is that correct?
No.
I don't have the caller and the caller's brother's name on here because I don't know the names yet, but I can get it. But I didn't.
I already wrote it in there.
All right. I don't know where you were at.
And again, there's been an alleged history of law
Female
enforcement,
victim, male victim.
SLED, which is the South Carolina
Yeah,
Law
call.
Enforcement
And
Division,
the other guy, though,
because
wasn't saying type
of
of thing.
the influence his family has, his brothers, his grandparents, father
Just
has
make sure you get
had,
the,
of there being protecting them, maybe not. It sounds like they're following protocol here, but definitely like with the boat crash in regards to Paul, he was allowed to like call people,
yes.
use the officer's phone. I don't think his phone was.
What are you doing on the computer right here? Do you recall?
Yeah, so on those computers that are mounted in our patrol vehicles, we can see details of the call for service or other calls for service. In this case, I was looking at the information for the incident on Moselle to determine what units had been dispatched, what units arrived, and when they arrived, due to Deputy Pruitt trying to establish the crime scene log.
You use the term call for service, which is a police term, but that essentially means responding to any emergency or
Any type of call, any citizen that would call our dispatch center to request law enforcement assistance or fire rescue assistance, it's called, we just refer to it as a call for service.
Yes. Nikki says it seems like he was given a lot of luxuries that aren't normally given to others in a situation. Yes, especially regarding Paul, like he never had to go to the jail and get like his mugshot. I don't think he ever went to jail. He was charged, and I think there was like a first hearing about the boat crash, but I don't know that there ever was another before he passed.
Scene at 22:26.
That's correct.
For those of us who don't know military time, can you tell us what that is?
That would be 10:26 p.m.
And that's June 7th, 2021.
I still struggle with military time, and I grew up
And
around military peoples.
whoever U21 is with fire rescue, just write U21, fire rescue U21. And then
That was the same time as you?
he came on scene. Yeah, same time as me. It's fine.
I'm
Medic
interested-
18 at 22:27.
And it started to rain more at this point.
Yeah, it had started raining at this point, yes.
During opening statements yesterday, they mentioned that Maggie's phone was found on the side of the road.
758 on scene 22:30. Same time as you.
I'm interested to see
653 on scene at 22:39.
if the data with Alex's cell phone, when he says that
Those
he got
numbers
anything back,
that you're referring to, what do those
if
represent?
the phones were together.
So the numbers would be the badge numbers of individuals
because she was
arriving on
passed at
scene.
that time.
You're just recording when various people arrived on the computer.
She had
They're
passed.
recorded in the computer. So when we arrive on scene, we let dispatch know our number and that we're on scene. They log it into the computer, and then we can then put it on our crime scene log.
So it would be him with her phone. And she was dead. Driving
That's
down
all
the
I
road.
have as far as times on this goes.
To me, that would be pretty definitive. Because he called and texted her, like, where are you? Aren't you answering? You know. Typical trying to do an alibi when you have done that. For someone with a law degree, they feel so them.
Copy. Where's that located?
Do I feel like the Murdaugh family has lost any of their good old boy charm because of Alex? No.
10-4. There's a constable unit that can assist. That'd be great.
Chris from Majestic Oaks is there. Jurisdiction.
People,
In
my opinion, here,
I'll take care of that.
they're very well connected. And they're very well, they protect each other. If anybody watches Southern Charm, you can see that sometimes people can be accused of something really heinous, or there's obvious heinous behavior.
Walking off to the left of the screen, who was that?
The one walking away from the screen or that just approached?
Walking away.
That was Deputy McDowell.
All right, and then the center of the screen, who was that?
The one that just walked up and is in center screen now would be Captain Krause.
All right, and then next to him, facing the body camera.
That would be Captain Chapman.
All right, and then to the far right.
Detective Tyndall.
I kind of explained yesterday that when I first moved here, I thought people were snotty only because of like money and status.
Those kennels to your recollection.
There were a couple of dogs. I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember seeing some.
Since hearing more about this story, this family, other people's stories connected to, I feel like they were snotty and what is the opposite? Not exclusive, but secluded with themselves. Because they all knew figuratively and perhaps literally where each other's bodies were buried. And these families, maybe not this one in particular,
Yes, sir.
but you got to understand, this is generations back of people who first came over here and owned people. And I don't just mean that in a woke situation. I mean, think of what it would take for
We're
a
gonna discuss it
person
later and find out. Okay. Just I'll make sure I
to
didn't miss
do
something.
the things they have done.
That discussion right there, did that have anything to do with the crime scene or anything like that?
No, it was not related at all.
I think it's history and generations of people with psychopathic.
Put on your hands
psychotic.
then.
Those would be latex gloves.
And the gloves you put on that you described earlier to the
Genetics
jury,
and
what were those
history.
gloves?
Those are more
Not this
tactical gloves. They're
particular
not
family.
necessarily ideal for handling any kind of evidence, but due to me already being out there next to the shotgun, I did not have any latex gloves on my person, so I used what was available.
So no, I don't
Why are
think
you
they've
putting on
lost any of
latex
their
gloves right
charm.
now?
They were wanting to look under the sheet where Paul was, so just to prevent any kind of contamination of any possible evidence at all, we would just always
And
put
I
gloves
think
on.
for a while, maybe people will seemingly pull out support, but they don't privately pull out support. People are so secretive here, and you know, they claim we don't air out our dirty laundry and stuff, and it's a Southern thing, and yada yada.
Actually, hold on. The people just won't do it. Fire rescue might have some more
We don't let
sheets we
people
can
know
steal.
what we're doing
That's right. It shouldn't be about 550 all
because we could get in trouble. Yeah, my opinion. Maybe or may not be based on experience.
I don't think you're gonna fit a damn 300 blackout under there.
Not unless it's the shortest 300 blackouts ever been made.
I don't think he put that phone back.
What is that discussion about right there?
So the whole purpose for even trying to look up under him was to determine if there was an additional firearm on scene already, possibly under Paul. There was 300 blackout casings found near Maggie. They were trying to determine if there was possibly a 300 blackout rifle under Paul.
And were y'all concerned that there may be one under Paul?
We just trying to rule it out as a possibility
And what was that possibility there?
that he could have shot Maggie,
And then did what?
shot himself.
So you're looking to see if there's a gun underneath if he had shot himself and then fallen on top of it.
That's correct.
I haven't asked the dad about the phone, but dad did say he came over and checked the pulses.
Did you see a phone near Paul when you arrived on the scene?
Yes, there was a phone laying on top of him near his back pockets of the shorts.
Yes, he is crying again.
Back up just a little bit. Is that it right down there at the
And
bottom?
again, as crazy as
That's
it
it.
sounds, I'm trying to keep an open mind. It could be, I mean, hey, even if you murder someone, you're probably still going to miss them. Hey, Christoph Van Always, thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Hope you're having a good day.
I haven't asked the dad about the phone, but dad did say
Yes,
he came over and checked.
Absolutely, Stacey, you nailed it. They only air it out
Beyond that, I don't know
gossiping,
what
but people not in their inner circles will never hear it. That's absolutely correct.
He did have a shotgun with him, and I have secured that in my vehicle.
Yeah, but it's an upward shot. This is one over the ceiling. Yeah, but that's.
I'm telling you, that's why I've been so invested in this and other things. I have loved Southern Charm because it's basically proven speculation I've had within of myself on how other people act in the state. And things to me get influenced from down in the Low Country, with Charleston being the more prominent city, the older city, the one with the most American history. There's literally a old slave market down there. I don't know the complete history. The people around here will say it was the market that the slaves used, like it was their market.
Right to the left of the screen, there appears to be, what does that appear to be? To the very left
It's
of the
right near a
screen.
port.
There's some dog crates over there. On top of one of the dog crates is actually a dead chicken.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
A dead chicken.
Okay.
On the far left-hand side of the screen.
you, Your Honor, with your permission, could you step down to the screen and point what you're talking about to the jury?
Was it shot? What's he doing?
It's
Field
difficult to
trip?
see, but right here on top of that small dog crate was what appeared to be a dead chicken. I'm sure I could do that. I couldn't show it. Could you do it?
Do it again, please.
This area right here. Right.
And that same attorney that I was talking about, Lori, on TikTok, he mentioned the change of clothes Snapchat. Also pointed out when carpooling yesterday said I would love to take the jury members, to the motel property to see the crime scene, so you can see in person what we're talking about, and that he could not be capable of this. She was like, part of the crime scene isn't there anymore. Apparently there was a shed and the dog kennels. One of them is no longer there. I feel like it's the dog kennels, but I'm not certain because I don't know if it was Alec himself, but not that long after they were torn down. It was torn down, according to Lord.
Is that it? That's your lights on right there?
That's correct. That's when I was really noticing the chicken.
She's
Just so you know, I've got at least 5 holes in the window in the back of that shed where rounds were exiting out the back that way.
Which is gonna be looked at because of the unwidened. And he was carrying a shotgun when we got
It is currently in my vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's stand for a moment. All right, we'll be seated. You may proceed.
Thank you, That's the extent of the that state will publish at this time, Your Honor. Let me ask you a few other questions if I could. Deputy, Sergeant Green. I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 5 to your testimony and see if you recognize this image.
Yes, sir. That would be an image from my body camera when I was looking at the tire tracks in the grass.
Have the input back to the Elmo, please. Your Honor, this time I would move to admit State's Exhibit 5, I believe, without objection.
Any objection, just states exhibit number 5. Submitted without objection. Yes. And publish any exhibit that has been admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, it doesn't show up on the screen that great, but who is that person in the image right there?
That'd be Mr. Murdaugh.
All right, and then just kind of in this area, it's more clear on the video, but that would be the tire
Yeah.
tracks you described earlier.
Yes, where I'm shining my flashlight at that point is where the tire tracks were.
We cut the video off after playing sort of the relevant parts, but what did you do for the remainder of this scene as the evening continued?
So the remaining part of my role would have just been making sure the crime scene stayed secure, people stayed out of where they weren't supposed to be. Investigators were handling the remainder of the investigation.
Did eventually anyone from the SLED, the State Law Enforcement Division, show up?
They did. I don't believe that would have been captured on my body camera, but they did, yes.
At some point, did you like to turn your body camera off?
I did. I cleared it with my supervisor, Captain Kraus, to ensure that I would not be needed for any additional investigative purposes, talking to Mr. Murdaugh or handling any additional evidence. And once that was okayed, I turned it off.
And so that was consistent with standard police procedures and practices and when to turn the body camera off?
That's correct.
You just didn't decide to do it willy-nilly or anything?
That's correct.
At what point, just roughly, do you remember, did you clear the scene or leave the scene?
I don't think I left the scene until several hours later.
Were you still there when SLED crime scene arrived?
Yes.
Did you remain the entire time they were there, or did you leave at some point?
I would have left prior to the end of my shift. I couldn't tell you the exact time that it was, but they were multiple units, including SLED and Carleton County investigators, still on scene when I left.
That's all the questions I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
All right, let's hear Harpootlian.
Some of the audio visual stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break at this time. Please go to the jury room. Please do not discuss the case.
Like recess, or they're just discussing something? Because they're recesses, man. There's just like 15 minutes, 45 minutes later. Well, again, I'm interested. All right, to hear Harpootlian's cross-examination. I believe he is going to turn this into a circus. He is known for his theatrics. There are articles of him in the past because he's old. He's been an attorney for a long time. Basically saying that half of this is theater, half of, half of being in court and defending people is theatrics. Not that that's bad, but I think his main fault is going to be relying too much on how things used to be. That was shown when he did a press conference and basically made fun of someone for not being there because they were taking their son to college or kid to college for the first time, helping them move in. He's like, my parents just sent me on a train and just sent me off. What are these kids nowadays? They need to be tucked in at night. Ha 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 ha. And just weird stuff coming out of his mouth. That's not of the more recent generations. So he comes off as a dick. That's his first name. But he's not well received, and he's so much not well received that he knows that, and in his opening statement yesterday claimed or explained to the jury, hey, there are going to be times where I rub you the wrong way. Don't take that out on Alec. And I'm like, man, if someone was representing me, you are literally representing me. If you aren't going to portray yourself in the best light, which is portraying me in the best light, why are we here? And why would you do that? Why would you say that? And if you know that about yourself, maybe change it, at least for the trial where you're defending my innocence on murdering people. So his theatrics are effective, but his kind of way of thinking and coming across, well, to me, being insensitive about daily living activities, so to speak. I think you could just keep his opinions out and still be an effective attorney and representing people. Yeah, need a recess for sure. Nikki says, I think it can be a theater for them to the jury, but they need to be careful on doing it too much. Yes, exactly. I agree. Especially, again, some of his old tactics are just not translating well to today's times. That same attorney that I mentioned and put her TikTok in the comment section or the chat section, she was explaining that Harpootlian's opening statements yesterday, where he kept explaining your job as jury members are to uphold the law, and the law, I don't think he meant to presume him innocent. I think he definitely should have said that. I think he was trying to use words to get this in their head, to plant seeds to think this way. But your job is to uphold the law, and the law is that he is innocent. The law is that he is innocent. The law is that he is innocent. Basically, I believe, because there's been so much coverage on this, I'm not sure if all those juror members are ones who claimed they hadn't heard anything about this case at all, but I would find that hard to believe for all of them, even if they had answered that way. But it's the law to presume him innocent beforehand, presume him innocent even during the opening statements, presume him innocent, have that mindset that this guy is innocent, and the prosecuting team has to convince me that he's guilty. I understand that, got that. But no, it's not technically the law that you have to say he's guilty. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. You have to hear all of the facts, see all the evidence, and then decide for yourself whether or not you believe he's innocent or guilty. I think that's the whole point of a trial and having juror members. So the attorney lawyer Lori was saying that that's kind of old school to use that terminology and that tactic to just basically reiterate over and over, this is the law. So it seems like an old dog can't learn new tricks. And although I think he is smart enough to adapt, I mean, this guy is intelligent. He isn't dumb. Sucks that he's in politics in my state. But I think before cameras, before the internet, and this kind of goes back to Nikki's question earlier about whether I think the Murdaugh family has lost any influence due to Alec. I can't pull it up. And again, I'm going to keep pronouncing it Murdaugh because that's how Alec just pronounced it. I can't find it. Anyway, so here it is. Do you feel like the Murdaugh family has lost any of the good old boy charm because of Alex? Think before the internet, before people moving from other areas. They call us transplants or whatever that aren't originally from here. And again, I grew up in the South. You can argue all you want to that Florida's not the South, but North Florida is Southern. That's more of a Augusta, Georgia accent. But I have personally experienced someone around here trying to make me look out to the as a crazy lady, as I was discovering maybe some protocols were not being followed, upheld. Maybe this person has political influence, maybe they don't. But I saw some tactics. Some tactics were used on me. And they were pretty effective, other than my husband and one friend knowing the truth. And this isn't something super scandalous, and nobody ever hurt me, touched me, anything like that. It was due to a protocol and state licensing and different things like that, that I was asking whether or not they were following protocol. Just ask the question. There were attempts to slander me. I'm not going to go into details. But I think people like this were able to operate in the dark more effectively than they can in modern day. I think that people who grew up in this culture, and again, I've grown up in a small town. It's a little bit different culture than here. But yeah, these people are so influential and powerful, and that they all kind of link together, and just the way we want it is the way that it's going to be. You've had to succumb to that. You know, it's David and Goliath without the cool slingshot. You know, it's just had to be the way of life, because they're effective. I'm waiting for this dude Harpootlian to say something sexist. I know it's gonna come. You know, like, oh, you know how crazy women are. Theatrics and people here, in my experience, men are very condescending to women. And I'm not even a super feminist, woke snowflake person. It's gross. I've experienced it multiple times in multiple settings. And if you're not from here and you see it, you're like, the heck? It's not. To me, it's likened to being in an abusive situation, maybe just verbally or emotionally so. And someone on the outside seeing it and being like, man, don't let that person talk to you. Female, male, whatever, doesn't matter. And the person who's being treated poorly is like, oh, that's not normal? You don't get, yelled at for not doing the dishes or whatever the case may be. Just throwing out random examples. it's not until someone sheds light on, no, this isn't normal behavior. You don't have to accept that. And that's not how the rest of the world operates. That's how this little bubble operates. I think because of people like Mandy Matney continuing to expose how people operate, what their train of thought is. I think even people who've had to tolerate it are like, oh my gosh, I think now's our chance. We can actually talk about this. We don't have to tolerate it anymore. Depending on how old the jurors are, if all of them have lived in Colleton County all of their life, which I'm just going to assume they probably have, his tactics might really work or might really work against him. I think if this trial were held in a federal court, there would be a chance at a very different outcome of him perhaps being, well, a very different outcome than what I assume is going to happen, which I assume he's probably going to be, I would be surprised if he were found guilty. Not because I don't think he didn't do it, although I'm willing to keep an open mind. I really am. Even though I still will be like, that's not how it is. And I keep, flipping Alec off every time I see him come up on my screen. I could be wrong. He could have not done it. He could be guilty of a lot of other things, but maybe he didn't do it. I'm sorry, I can't take myself seriously. What I'm saying is, I think there's a very good chance with Howard Putlian as his defense attorney and with this trial being held in Colleton County, there's a good chance he's going to be found innocent. I think what's going in favor of him being found guilty is that people from that area and otherwise are grateful that they don't have to stay quiet anymore. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. I'm going to be listening to it all day. Have my earbuds in and oh yeah, I'm going to be listening to this shit the whole freaking time. But I may talk about it more. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it more on here eventually. I think Wicked Pickle hasn't been feeling the best, and we've kind of messaged or tagged each other, whatever. Anyway, but I want to send people her way if she does this. Again, this isn't normally my jam. I just am personally invested in this, so I want to talk about it, and nobody I knew was talking about it. If someone else is, then I want to get on there and chat. I think I saw LB was covering this. I'm probably not going to watch her. I do like her, but I think I'm a better person to watch for that, just because this is my thing, dang it. But they're back. But anyway, I am going to go ahead and end this live, but continue to listen. Let me put the link for where I'm listening to this in here. For watching it, whatever.
Bring the jury.
This is a news station, and I know Law and Crime has it streaming, but this is a little bit, the chat's a little bit more intimate if you choose to chat with it. You can kind of there's more chance of interaction, and that's what I'm out for, is to interact with people and talk with people about it. So thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it. I'm not interested in being a true crime person. So But for this, I mean, again, how many years have I been like, Nikki, watch this, listen to this podcast. Oh my God. Oh my God. So anyhow, I hope you guys have a good day. I'm sure I'll see you around in some form or fashion online. And that's it. Awkward exit.